Strange home features that have disappeared. Ever walked past an old silent house and thought, what's that tiny door even for? Or, why's there just a random toilet sitting smack in the basement? Before tech took over and flipped everything, homes used to be packed with quirky, clever little architectural features. Some were so odd they're hard to believe. Yet, they made daily life easier. Today, we're diving into 30 of those weird, wonderful details. Designs that were once architectural stars, now mostly forgotten relics. Buckle up for a trip packed with nostalgia and some pretty cool facts. Wall plates/anchor plates. You've probably seen these funky metal shapes, S, X, maybe a star, on the sides of old brick or stone homes. It looks decorative, right? But nah, they actually played a key role in keeping things from falling apart. These plates were linked to long iron rods inside the walls, acting like a support system to keep walls from bulging or crashing down. This was super important back then, since older bricks and stones didn't hold weight like today's materials. Now, with steel frames and reinforced concrete, houses are way sturdier. So yeah, these plates basically phased out. But they're still hanging around like old-school markers of how clever builders used to be. Coal chute door. If you've ever walked through old neighborhoods, especially in colder cities, you might have spotted a small iron door down near the foundation. That's a coal chute door, and it was everywhere back when homes didn't have modern heating. Coal was the main source of heat, and delivery guys would dump coal straight through that door into the basement. Inside, the homeowner would shovel it into the furnace to warm up the house. Super convenient, right? No need to come inside, and less coal dust floating around the home. But once natural gas and electric heating came around, everything changed. Cleaner, faster, and way more efficient. And just like that, coal furnaces and these chute doors faded out. Still, many of these iron doors are still there today, little time capsules of a colder, coal-powered past. Built-in phone nooks and landline phone jacks. In older homes, you'll sometimes see little fancy wall recesses or mini-shelves built right in. These were phone nooks, specifically made to hold the big, clunky landline phones of the time. They often had a shelf underneath for holding phone books or pens. Smart and functional. Around them, you'd also find jack outlets, small square plugs throughout the house, so you could hook up phones in different rooms. Thoughtful design for a plugged-in era that's long gone. Being able to plug in a phone anywhere in the house? That was a big deal back then. But once mobile phones and wireless tech took off, landlines pretty much vanished overnight. Now, we carry our whole lives around in our pockets. Those wall nooks? These days, people get creative, turning them into little display spots for decor or collectibles. Ice door. Around the backside of many older houses, you might notice a small, odd-looking door, usually leading right into the pantry. That's an ice door, a must-have before refrigerators were a thing. Back then, people stored food in ice boxes, insulated cabinets chilled by a big block of ice. This little door let the delivery person slide the ice block right in. No need to even step inside the house. Super convenient. Plus, it kept things clean and private. It was a smart fix for the time. But once refrigerators hit the scene in the early 1900s, everything changed. Continuous cooling with zero effort? Yeah, the ice delivery business didn't stand a chance. Now, these ice doors are nearly extinct. Laundry chute. In multi-story homes built between the early and mid-20th century, the laundry chute was a simple but super practical feature. Instead of hauling laundry baskets down from the top floors to the laundry room, people could just drop clothes right down the chute. Gravity did the rest. Dirty clothes landed straight in the laundry area, saving time and a ton of effort. It was a smart piece of household design meant to make life easier. Still, despite how handy it was, laundry chutes slowly fell out of favor due to safety concerns, mainly the risk of small kids falling in or getting stuck. Plus, newer homes started placing laundry rooms on the same floor as bedrooms, making the chute unnecessary. That said, with modern homeowners looking for unique and clever features, laundry chutes might just be making a comeback. Pittsburgh potty. One of the weirdest and most confusing things you'll ever see in an old home? A single toilet just sitting there, in the basement, all alone, no walls, no privacy. This odd setup, known as the Pittsburgh potty, was super common in industrial American cities before World War II. It was built to serve factory and steel workers who'd come home filthy after a long shift. They'd go into the basement, use the toilet, clean up, change clothes, and only then head into the main house. It was all about keeping the mess away from the family's living space, function over modesty. These days, most of these toilets have been removed, or at least boxed in with walls. Out of all these odd features, which one surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments below. Pantry. A pantry is a special storage area for food items and kitchen gear that used to be a key feature in nearly every home. Depending on the house, it could be a tiny built-in cabinet or even a walk-in room. The main reason for having a pantry? Keep the clutter out of the main kitchen. Dry foods, cans, spices, those rarely used kitchen gadgets, everything lived in the pantry. It gave the kitchen breathing room. Today's modern kitchens often use bigger cabinets or open layouts, sometimes cutting out dedicated pantry spaces. But as homeowners crave more storage and organization, pantries are once again seen as a must-have by many buyers and builders. Its excellent organizational capability and its ability to free up main kitchen cabinet space still make it a huge win for many modern families. Ceiling beds/Saurian beds. Ever imagined a room so versatile your bed just vanishes when you're not using it? That's the magic of ceiling beds, also called Saurian beds. First patented in 1913, they were a super clever space-saving invention. These beds hung from the ceiling and used a counterweight and crank system to lower them down. When not needed, you could lift them back up into a ceiling recess, clearing all the floor space below. Despite the genius behind it, they didn't quite catch on like Murphy beds, which folded into walls instead. That may be because ceiling beds were trickier to install or more expensive. But today, with rising rents and shrinking apartments, ceiling beds are gaining popularity again in tiny urban homes. They're being seen as a smart way to save space and make any room multi-use. Push-button light switches. Way before today's flip switches, people were using push-button switches. First appearing in the late 1800s and super popular in early 1900s homes, these had two buttons, one for on and one for off. They had a classic aesthetic and a totally unique feel to them, becoming a design icon of the time. But over the years, the buttons could start sticking, which got annoying. Worse, bad internal wiring could overheat and even lead to fire hazards. Those safety and durability concerns led to their phase out. Newer, safer, and longer-lasting switch types took over. Boot scrapers. Ever spot a tiny cast-iron fixture by the front step of an old house? That's a boot scraper. Totally normal in the age when roads were muddy, sidewalks were rare, and horses ruled the streets. These were essential, especially in bad weather, for scraping off dirt, mud, and, a bit of manure before stepping inside. The purpose of a boot scraper was simple. Pedestrians or horseback riders used it to remove dirt, mud, or even horse manure from their boots before stepping inside. It kept floors clean and prevented all that outdoor mess from being dragged into the home. But as roads were paved and cars began replacing horses, the need for boot scrapers pretty much vanished. Today, they're more of a historical detail, still visible in well-preserved homes or classic neighborhoods, but not something people really use anymore. Root cellars. Long before refrigerators became the norm, root cellars were a must-have for food storage. These were cool, dark spaces, usually built fully underground or partially below ground level. Their whole purpose was to prevent fruits, veggies, and other perishables from spoiling. No electricity needed. The Earth's natural insulation kept temperatures steady and cool year-round. That meant longer-lasting produce and food security through harsh winters and heavy harvest seasons. But once fridges came along, with their reliable, adjustable cold storage, root cellars quickly became unnecessary for most households. Still, some people, especially in rural areas, continue using them for organic produce, wine, or even aging cheese. They're a nod to self-reliance and a closer-to-nature lifestyle. Razor blade disposal slots. Ever noticed a tiny metal slit inside an old bathroom medicine cabinet and wondered what it was for? That's a razor blade disposal slot, a clever little feature from back when men used double-edged safety razors. Used blades couldn't just be tossed in the trash. They were sharp and dangerous. So these slots let you drop them safely into the wall cavity between studs. Out of sight, out of mind. Practical, but a bit eerie, knowing all those blades are still hiding back there. This helped avoid danger for cleaners and kept the bathroom neat and safer. But with the arrival of disposable razors and modern blade containers, the wall slot just wasn't needed anymore. What's crazy, though, is that many old homes still have walls or floors filled with those used blades, only discovered decades later during renovations. It's a tiny, weird reminder from the history of personal grooming. Dumb waiters. Ever wanted a house where food moves between floors, all on its own? That's exactly what dumb waiters were for. These mini elevators, powered by basic pulley systems, carried dishes, food, or essentials between levels. In larger homes, where kitchens weren't always near the dining room, they made life way easier. Staff didn't have to climb stairs every time something was needed. But in today's homes, where open layouts are more common and meals are simpler, dumb waiters fell out of use. Now, most are sealed off or turned into hidden storage. A clever idea that's become a quiet relic. Our channel might be new, but the stories we bring you are anything but. Hit that subscribe button and let's rediscover the past, one feature at a time. Thanks for watching. Servant stairs. In old mansions and large estates, you might find a narrow, steep staircase hidden behind a door near the kitchen or pantry. These were servant stairs. They let household staff move between floors quietly, without using the formal staircase reserved for guests and the family. This layout reflected the clear divide in social roles back then. Privacy and separation were key. Staff would carry up meals, clean rooms, or run errands without being seen. Now, with more equal lifestyles and open floor plans, these sets of stairs mostly exist in preserved historic homes. Servant floor buttons. Continuing with the idea of discreet service, many grand old homes had servant floor buttons. These were tiny buttons tucked under carpets or next to dining tables. When pressed by foot, they'd alert the staff in the kitchen, either by bell or buzzer. Guests stayed undisturbed, and service was summoned silently. It was an elegant system for the upper class to request help without saying a word. Another clever piece of home design from a more formal time. This lets homeowners call for help discreetly. No yelling, no leaving the dinner table. It was a quiet sign of convenience and authority in elite households of the past. But as lifestyles changed and live-in staff became rare, these buttons fell out of use. Most no longer function, but many still remain. Hidden in old houses, quiet reminders of a long-gone social system and the lifestyles it supported. Milk doors. Before fridges became common, getting fresh milk delivered every day was a normal part of life. And to make those deliveries efficient, many old homes came with what looks like a mysterious little door built right into the side wall, the milk door. The milkman would place full bottles inside the compartment and pick up the empties from the day before, all without entering the house or disturbing anyone. It was a simple, smart design, tailored to the rhythm of daily life at the time. But as fridges took over and grocery stores expanded, buying milk in bulk became the new normal. These little doors, no longer essential. Still, many homes keep them, now sealed up or reused, another quirky trace from the past. Transom windows? Look above a doorway in an old home, and you might see a small glass panel. That's a transom window. Before homes had electric lights everywhere, these helped brighten up darker areas like hallways that lacked big windows. Even better, many could open up, letting air move freely through the home. They were essential for better airflow and natural cooling, especially before fans or air conditioning existed. Transoms made spaces feel breezy and bright. But once electric lights and HVAC systems came along, their practical use faded. Still, they've stuck around for their elegant appearance. Some modern homeowners even add them back in, for charm, extra light, and a cool vintage feel. Picture rails. In many historic homes, look just below the ceiling and you'll notice a thin strip of molding running along the walls. That's a picture rail. From the mid-1800s onward, they were super popular and smart. Most walls were made with delicate plaster back then, which cracked easily if you tried to hammer nails into it. Picture rails avoided all that mess. With movable hooks placed along the rail, people could hang artwork using cords. No nails, no wall damage. Even better, it made rearranging art super easy, without leaving behind holes or marks. Once drywall came around in the 1940s, walls became tougher, and it was easier to nail things up without cracking plaster. That's when picture rails started to fade out. Still, they're commonly seen in older homes. And, fun fact, some modern homeowners are bringing them back. They love the vintage elegance, and the fact they can redecorate anytime. No drill needed. Home intercom systems. Before smartphones, or even cordless phones, existed, talking to someone on a different floor wasn't always easy. Lots of yelling or running around. So, built-in intercom systems became a thing. Fixed into the walls of multiple rooms, these wired devices let homeowners talk across the house, instantly and privately. Some setups even had units connected to the front door so you could speak with visitors before answering. At the time, it was high-tech luxury. But once cell phones took off and smart tech followed, intercoms pretty much disappeared. Now we call, text, or use video doorbells for all that. Today, you're more likely to see vintage intercom panels still hanging on the wall, dead but decorative. Pocket doors. Out of all old house details, pocket doors might be one of the most practical. Instead of swinging open like regular doors and using up floor space, these slide directly into the wall. It's a genius way to save space and add flexibility to any room. Need privacy? Slide it shut and split that big space in two. Hosting a party? Keep it open and make it feel large and connected. Pocket doors were especially useful in homes where space was limited, and they still make a lot of sense today. Smart, stylish, and totally space-saving. It was a brilliant way to quickly change up a room's layout and purpose. But even with all these perks, pocket doors aren't that common in new builds. The reason? Tricky installation and the need for extra wall space. Still, as more people look for space-saving and flexible home designs, pocket doors are gaining attention again. They're stylish, functional, and making a quiet comeback. If you could bring just one old feature back into your modern home, which one would it be? And why? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Defined room layouts. Walk into an older home, and you'll immediately feel something different. You'll notice smaller rooms, unique shapes, and lots of doors separating each space. That's the defined room layout. This design was all about privacy and energy efficiency. By closing off unused spaces, families could save on heating or cooling and still keep things cozy where it mattered. Each room had a clear job. Living room, dining room, bedrooms, they all had their own space. But nowadays, the open concept is king. People love big, airy homes that feel wide and connected. Still, many new buyers are starting to miss those cozy, divided spaces. They want peace, quiet, and separation. Privacy is making a return. So once again, this shows how everyone's idea of the perfect layout is just a little different. Built-in kitchen desk. In a lot of older kitchens, you might come across a mini workspace tucked into the corner. Nope, it's not an extra table. It's a built-in desk. Back then, this space was the HQ for landline phones, recipe planning, household bookkeeping, or even kids doing homework while dinner cooked. It made total sense, since the kitchen was the heart of the house. But with smartphones, laptops, and home offices now common, these desks started to disappear. Still, some people keep them around for printers, device charging, or quick note-taking. A smart little feature, once built for a different time, that can still be handy today. Knob and tube wiring. One of the earliest electrical systems in American homes, knob and tube wiring was widely used between the 1880s and 1930s. This setup used single, insulated copper wires running loosely through the hollow spaces in walls and ceilings. Ceramic tubes guided the wires through wood framing, while porcelain knobs held them in place. It was a total game-changer at the time, making whole-house electricity possible. But as appliances got more powerful, this old system didn't hold up. The insulation could crack or wear out, increasing the risk of fire. Even worse, it had no grounding, which is now a basic safety standard in all modern wiring. That's why homes with knob and tube wiring usually need a full electrical upgrade, not just for safety, but also to meet today's building codes. Large front porches/wraparound porches. Stroll through an older neighborhood and you'll see them, big, welcoming porches, often stretching around the sides of the house. These wraparound porches were everywhere in the past. They gave families a perfect space for relaxing, visiting with neighbors, or enjoying a breeze during long summer evenings. It was a true staple of daily life and community connection. But modern homes? Not so much. Porches now tend to be smaller and mostly there for decoration, with lifestyles becoming more private and people spending time in fenced-in backyards instead. Big front porches started to disappear. Still, they're a favorite for many buyers today. They offer not just charm, but also calm, and a strong link to the neighborly values of the past. Mudroom. Small, simple, but incredibly useful. A mudroom is usually found near a back or side entrance of a home. This space was created so you could take off muddy shoes, wet jackets, or dirty clothes without dragging mess into the rest of the home. Mudrooms usually had coat hooks, shoe racks, maybe even a small sink for washing up. It was the perfect everyday solution, especially great after yard work, playing with pets, or coming home from a rainy day. Over time, though, mudrooms started shrinking, or disappearing entirely, to save square footage. As a result, shoes and coats often end up cluttering the main entryway. Still, for families with kids, pets, or anyone living in colder, wet climates, mudrooms are incredibly practical and still high on many homeowners' wish lists. Broom closets, linen closets. In older homes, having dedicated storage like broom closets and linen closets was totally normal. Broom closets were perfect for tucking away vacuums, mops, and brooms, keeping cleaning gear out of sight. Linen closets were the go-to for sheets, towels, and blankets, all neatly stored and easy to grab. These features made home organization a breeze, but in many modern builds today, they're being replaced with smaller cabinets, or not included at all. That's often due to minimalist trends and space-saving designs. Even so, people still love the convenience and function that comes with these specialized closets. They help keep clutter down and make storage simple. Large utility sinks/concrete slop sinks. In the basements or laundry rooms of many old homes, you'll often find a massive concrete sink. That's the utility sink, or slop sink. Built tough and large, it was the go-to spot for messy jobs. People used them to rinse filthy clothes, clean out mop buckets, wash muddy boots, bathe pets, you name it. Anything too gross for the kitchen sink, this thing could handle. And with modern machines and sleeker sink setups, those older concrete units are less common now. But many still want them, because they last forever and are incredibly useful for dirty work. Whole house exhaust fans/attic fans. Before air conditioning came into play, homes relied on these big fans to beat the heat. This fan, mounted in the ceiling or attic, worked by sucking hot air up and out of the house while pulling in cool outside air through open windows. The result? Strong airflow that could cool down the entire home fast, especially at night when outside temps dropped. It was a super energy-efficient way to stay comfortable during summer. But once air conditioning hit the scene, with its reliable cooling and set-and-forget convenience, whole house fans took a back seat. Still, they haven't completely disappeared. In drier or seasonal climates, they're highly valued for quick ventilation, removing smells, or giving the house a fresh breeze. No electricity-hungry AC required. Did we miss any odd, clever, or nostalgic features from old homes? Let us know in the comments. Share your favorites. Conversation pits. Step into a retro living room from the 60s or 70s, and you might come across a strange, sunken seating area, often round or square, with built-in couches or cushions lining the space. These were conversation pits, a bold design meant to encourage close, cozy interaction. You'd sit face to face, lower than the rest of the room, separated but connected all at once. It was all about togetherness, deep talks, and stylish comfort. But the risk of tripping and changing design trends toward flat, open spaces gradually pushed the conversation pit out of style. Still, they remain a favorite throwback for architecture lovers looking to spice things up with retro flair. Built-in shelves/china cabinets. One of the most charming details in older homes? Built-in features, especially shelves and display cabinets. These were often part of the actual wall design, complete with decorative trim, woodwork, and glass doors. Their job wasn't just storage, they were meant to show off your best dishes, collectibles, or books. They didn't just offer smart storage, they added charm, character, and a true sense of identity to the home. Instead of using separate furniture pieces, these built-ins were part of the architecture itself, giving the house a feeling of permanence, detail, and elegance. But with today's minimalist trends and open-concept layouts, many new homes skip them entirely, or reduce them to keep things feeling airy. Still, built-in shelves and china cabinets are loved by many for how timeless and useful they are. They give life to a room, turning a plain space into something warm and personal. These small features carry stories about the way people lived, displayed what they loved, and built homes that felt full of heart. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic trip through time. If you enjoy stories hidden in the walls and features of old homes and want to discover more forgotten gems from the past, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends and family who love architecture and history. We'll see you in the next one.